What's up, y'all? My name is Keegan. Welcome back to my channel where I help you become the best personal trainer that you can be so you can create the financial living that you want through this amazing career. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you can stay up to date with every video that I come out with. Today, I want to talk about the process that I take every time when I start with a new client. So this is after I've already sold the package and had the initial consultation, and I kind of am starting to plan out and have the conversations about the next steps. So the first thing that I do with any of my clients is I start replacing foods instead of removing foods from their diet. What that would look like is if they have a morning donut or a morning whipped frappuccino, is I'd ask them to choose something that's a little bit lower calorie, things that are going to be more nutrient dense and have a little bit more satiating effect, like whole foods. So I'm always trying to push my clients to start on a whole food diet as much as possible from the get-go so that we can start establishing better food habits. The other thing is I set the expectation that I don't want them to focus on losing any weight in the beginning, which is a very difficult thing to sell for most clients. But like I mentioned in our last video, how important it is to have evidence that shows that you know what you're talking about. It will be a much easier sell with this client. So establishing that you don't want them to focus on losing any weight on the scale, we're purely going to start focusing on eating better quality foods, whole foods, focus on transitioning a little bit more of our food into protein. One reason why I have them do that is protein is a lot more satiating, for one. For two, it also is the building blocks of everything we're trying to do with our clients. So if we're trying to get them more toned, start developing a little bit more muscle, we need that protein. And it's such a chronically under-eaten macronutrient for almost every general population client. So I always put a lot of focus on establishing that with them right off from the get-go. The easiest way that I found to actually get clients to start eating more protein and consuming more protein is adding a whey protein shake in after our sessions. Granted, it's not ideal, and I'd prefer them to get that through whole food sources. Having that protein shake makes it a lot easier for them to hit that target. My favorite protein shake is through Momentous. Their whey protein is by far my favorite one that I've ever used, and I will leave a link for that in the description. One thing that I'd like to make note of with that whey protein is the anabolic window is a bullshit concept used to help sell you more protein powder. My perception of protein is purely a supplement to use when you already have a good diet and you're just struggling to get that added protein, just purely based off the fact that I'd rather it come from a whole food source, but it is a good replacement. The next thing that I generally do when establishing a program with a client is I have them commit to like 2 days per week of training with me. If they can't afford 2 sessions per week with me, I will have one time per week and I'll write them a session for the second one. Just be aware that it's not going to be as good of a session, partially because they may not be prepared to push themselves as far as need be in the training session. The other thing is they may not be aware of the little minute things that their form is just lacking in these certain exercises. So if you do need to do that, try to include a little bit more machines in that workout just to keep your clients safe and to enable them to push a little bit harder in a more safe manner. When writing this program for only 2 sessions per week, focus on full body workouts. If they're able to do 3, that's great. Still focus on full bodies. I would not suggest going anything beyond full body with most general population clients, partially because they're generally only going to be coming 3 sessions and below, purely based off of cost. When we do full body sessions with our clients, it enables us to get adequate amount of stimulus for muscle building with our clients without pushing them too far in each session. When we can break up the 10 to 15 sets that are required for most average lifters to start to gain some muscle across 3 days, that's going to be about 5 sets per muscle group per day. When you're factoring that into your program planning, you also want to think of the agonist muscles that are going to be working with each other. So, like with a press motion, you want to think if you're using your chest, you're also going to be using your shoulders and your triceps are going to be involved. So that's less sets that you have to dedicate and focus on pushing with the triceps and with the shoulders exclusively. When you are actually in session with your clients, really start from the beginning, establishing that you are skill development and not working out. The best way to kind of get this is to really focus on the form. really nail the form down. And whenever the form starts to deviate from the ideal, have them stop the set. The reason why we want to do this is every single session is a opportunity for them to practice the right thing. If we're constantly doing the wrong thing or adding in the wrong thing, especially when they're tired, they're never going to be able to establish the mind muscle connection and the muscle memory required to be able to push themselves to failure appropriately. Most new clients are not going to be able to hit true failure because they're going to hit a technical failure way before that. So we're trying to, with the skill development, elongate that technical failure to where it is comparable to when the true failure is occurring. For fairly new lifters, I would suggest starting with a higher rep range, like 12 to 15, just so you can really start to hammer in that skill aspect of it and get the practice with each rep. Now, with more experienced lifters, as long as you feel confident with their form, you can focus on the lower rep range, the 6 to 8 rep range, and really start to develop some good strength, that harder looking muscle, and then adding in higher and higher rep ranges, and then starting back on the lower rep range. So think of it like a cyclical program, 4 weeks of low reps, 4 weeks of medium reps, 4 weeks of high reps, and then starting back with the low reps. This helps really establish a good strength curve throughout the whole existence of rep ranges that are kind of more effective towards muscle building instead of just focusing on the typical 8 to 12. You want to kind of mix it up, one, just for enjoyment factor, and two, because you will get slightly different looks of the muscle depending on what muscle range you're working. The last thing is really focus on consistency with your client. Again, this is skill development with them. This is training. So when we're looking to build those programs, you want to keep each week relatively consistent. Each session should kind of look exactly the same as the previous week sessions. So if you're training 2 times per week, you're going to have 2 separate sessions that they're just going to kind of cycle through. This helps them really develop that skill week over week. If there is some boredom developing, that is when you can start to adjust things. But I'd really just start with the accessory movements at the end of the session, like the arms, the abs, those kinds of things, and then keep the main lifts that you're starting with pretty consistent week over week and really just pushing that progression. All right, guys. That is it for today. I hope you learned a little bit something about how to start with your clients and the best, most effective way to get them to obtain results and stay consistent with that. Make sure you share this video with all your personal training friends so that they can also learn and become the best trainers that they can be. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.